And here's the strangest part. You already know exactly what you need to do. Your goals are clear, you've researched, planned, and made the to-do list. You know you need to study, train, work on the project, and spend time with your family. But when the time comes to do it, you delay. I'll start tomorrow. I'll focus from Monday. Next month, I'll truly dedicate myself. And then days become weeks, weeks become months, years become years. And you're still standing in the same place, with the same unfinished dreams, the same broken promises, and the same empty assurances to yourself. There's Japanese philosophy called Ichigo Ichie. It means one time, one meeting. In other words, this moment happens only once in a lifetime. In Japanese tea ceremonies, this idea was used to remind people that this meeting, this moment, is unique, and it will never return in exactly the same way. Even if you repeat the same ceremony tomorrow, it won't be the same moment. This exact moment has already died forever. Now, apply this to your life. The workout you skipped today, you will never get to do that exact workout again. The study session you postponed, the time you lost, will never come back. The conversation with your child that you cut short because you were busy, that moment is gone. And the scariest part is that your brain tricks you every day into believing there's always tomorrow. But neuroscience says the more you postpone something, the stronger the neural circuit for procrastination becomes. In other words, you literally train your brain to delay. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of a man named Dylan. Dylan had everything going for him. He knew exactly what he needed to do, but for years he lived inside the illusion called "I'll start tomorrow," until one day he realized tomorrow is the biggest lie you can tell yourself. But before we continue, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and comment below with the one thing you've been putting off for months. It could be a project, a workout, studying, a difficult conversation, something you know you need to do, but keep delaying. I read the comments, and I know many of you are in the same place Dylan was in. This video might be the push you need. Thank you for being here. Now, let's begin the story. Chapter 1. The Man Who Lived in Tomorrow. Dylan was 29 years old, trapped in a cruel cycle of broken promises. He wasn't a failure. In fact, he was intelligent, talented, and full of potential. Everyone who knew him said, "This guy is going places." But Dylan wasn't going anywhere because he lived in the future. He worked in an accounting office, not because he liked it, but because it paid the bills while he worked on his personal project. What personal project? A finance app he had imagined 3 years ago. The concept was complete in his head, he'd researched the market, he had even sketched the main screens. But the code? Zero. Because he always decided he would really start on the weekend. Dylan also dreamed of losing weight and getting in shape. He weighed 95 kilos and wanted to get down to 75. He'd been paying for a gym membership for 8 months, but had gone only 4 times, because next Monday he was going to get serious. And there was more. Dylan wanted to learn Japanese. He bought the full course, downloaded the apps, and gathered all the materials. He attended the first lesson with excitement, then never opened it again, because when work calms down, he'll dedicate himself. On top of that, Dylan had been in a 4-year relationship with a woman named Jessica. Jessica was patient, understanding, and truly loved him. But she was tired because Dylan was like a ghost, present, but not really present. At dinner, he was on his phone. If she tried to talk about the future, he said, "Let's talk about that later." If she suggested doing something different on the weekend, he said, "I'm tired, next weekend." And the worst part, Dylan had a 58-year-old father who lived alone on the other side of town. His mother had passed 5 years ago. His father was quiet and lonely, and he called his son once a week. "Hello, son, how are you? I was wondering if you'd like to come have lunch here on Sunday." "Dad, I can't this Sunday. I've got things to take care of. We'll schedule something for next week." But next week never came, because there was always something more urgent or something easier, like lying on the couch watching TV series. Chapter 2. The Alarm Clock That Never Worked. Dylan's life was ruled by a vicious cycle. Every Sunday night he made promises.
Monday, I'll wake up early, I'll train before work, I'll work on the app after hours, I'll study Japanese before bed. This week will be different. He set his alarm for 6 a.m. He laid out his training clothes on the chair. He left his laptop open with the project file ready. Monday, 6 a.m., the alarm rang. Dylan hit snooze and thought, just 10 more minutes. Those 10 minutes became 40. He woke up late, skipped the workout, rushed his coffee, and went to work. Stressed. At work, he spent the whole day switching between tasks, checking emails, replying to messages, scrolling, social media. He looked busy, but deep down he was just killing time. At 6 p.m., he returned home. He sat on the sofa just to rest for 5 minutes before starting the project. He picked up his phone, opened YouTube. I'll just watch one quick video. 2 videos became 10, 10 became 20. Then he looked at the clock. 10 p.m. Damn, it's already late. I'll start earlier tomorrow. Tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow was the same, and the day after that was the same, and the whole month was the same. And you know what hurt the most? Dylan wasn't ignorant. He wasn't stupid. He knew he was wasting his life, but something in his brain blocked action. Something that made the couch feel more attractive than the project, that made Netflix feel more important than calling his father. That something is called present bias, and it was destroying Dylan's life without him realizing it. Chapter 3. The Turning Point. It was a Friday night. Dylan was on the couch doing exactly what you'd expect, watching Netflix with a bag of chips in his hand. Jessica came home from work, looked at him, and sighed. It was the tired sigh of someone who had tried 1,000 times and couldn't take it anymore. "Dylan, we need to talk." He paused the show. "About what?" She sat down in the chair across from him, not next to him on the sofa. That alone was a sign. "Do you remember when we started dating?" "Of course." "You were different. You were full of plans, dreams, energy. You talked about the app so passionately that I believed you were going to change the world. You talked about traveling with me, building a life together, becoming better." She paused. "But it's been 4 years, Dylan, and you're still in the same job you hate. The app is still stuck in the same draft screen. You're still the same weight. You're still postponing everything." Dylan felt his chest tighten. "Jessica, I know I've been putting things off, but..." She cut him off. "You postpone training. You postpone the project. You postpone visiting your father. You even postpone conversations with me. When was the last time we had a real conversation without you being on your phone?" Silence. "I can't stand dating a promise anymore, Dylan. I can't stand dating I'll do it tomorrow anymore. I want to be with someone who does, someone who is, someone who is alive." Her words hit like bricks. "So you're breaking up with me?" Jessica stayed silent for a long moment. "I don't know. Only know that if nothing changes, we have no future. Because I'm not going to spend the rest of my life waiting for you to finally start living." She got up and went to her room. Dylan sat there alone, the show paused, a bag of chips in his hand. And for the first time in a long time, he truly looked at himself. He was 29, and what did he have to show for it? A mediocre job, an out-of-shape body, a project that only existed in his head, a relationship on the edge of ending, and a father he couldn't even remember the last time he saw. What am I doing with my life?
Chapter 4. Meeting the Sensei. On Saturday morning, Dylan woke up with an unbearable weight on his chest. He knew he needed to change, but how? He didn't need more information. He had already read productivity books, watched motivational videos, downloaded time management apps. Nothing worked, because the problem wasn't knowledge, it was action. He picked up his phone and scrolled through his contacts until he saw a name he hadn't touched in months: Kenji Nakamura. Kenji was a 68-year-old Japanese man who had mentored Dylan years ago during a programming course. Wise, calm, someone who carried the energy of a person who had lived deeply. Without overthinking, Dylan sent a message. "Sensei Kenji, it's Dylan. It's been a long time. Do you have time to grab a coffee?" 5 minutes later, the reply came.
Of course, Dylan-san. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., Park Cafeteria. See you there. Sunday morning, Dylan was sitting at a small outdoor table when Kenji arrived. Same upright posture, same calm steps, same gentle smile. Dylan-san, it's been a long time. They sat down. Kenji ordered green tea. Dylan ordered coffee. Kenji asked, "What brings you here?" Dylan didn't know where to begin, so he poured everything out. The job he hated, the project that never started, the neglected body, the relationship falling apart, the father he kept postponing. Kenji listened silently, nodding now and then. When Dylan finished, Kenji asked, "And do you know what you need to do to change that?" I know exactly. I need to work on the project every day. I need to train. I need to study. I need to be there for Jessica. I need to visit my father." Kenji asked, "Then why don't you do it?" I don't know. I always postpone. I always think tomorrow will be easier. But tomorrow comes, and I do the same thing. Kenji took a sip of tea and stayed quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Sensei Kenji, do you know the concept of Ichigo Ichie?" "No." "It comes from the tea ceremony. It means one time, one meeting. Each moment is unique and unrepeatable. Even if we drink tea together tomorrow, it won't be this moment. This moment will die when we end this conversation, and it will never exist again." Dylan frowned. "But what does that have to do with procrastination?" Kenji smiled. "Everything. Because you live as if you have infinite time, as if today's training can be done tomorrow without consequence, as if the project can wait another week, as if your father will always be available when you finally decide to visit him." He leaned forward. "But the truth is, you only have today, this moment, right now. And when you procrastinate, you're not just postponing a task, you're killing a moment that will never come back." The words hung in the air. Kenji continued, "Let me ask you something. How many training sessions have you missed in the last 3 years?" Dylan thought. "I don't know. Hundreds." "And how many moments with Jessica did you waste while scrolling on your phone?" "Many." "And how many weekends could you have spent with your father?" Dylan felt a knot in his throat. "Each of those moments is dead, Dylan, and you will never be able to relive them. No matter how much money you earn, no matter how successful you become, those moments have been buried in the cemetery of 'I'll do it later.'" Dylan looked down. "So I wasted my life?" Kenji said, "No, you wasted some years, but you still have today. The question is, what will you do with it?"
Chapter 7. The Truth About Motivation. Kenji leaned forward. "Here's something nobody talks about. Most people wait to feel motivated before they act. They wait for the magical day they'll wake up full of energy, and when that day doesn't come, they do nothing. But motivation doesn't work like that. Motivation doesn't come before action, it comes after action." Dylan looked confused. "What do you mean?" "Neuroscience. When you take action, your brain releases dopamine. Dopamine creates pleasure. Pleasure creates motivation. So the real sequence is action to dopamine to motivation to more action. Most people believe motivation to action, but that rarely happens because motivation needs action to exist." "So I have to act without motivation?" "Exactly. Especially when you don't feel motivated, because that's when you create motivation. Think of training. You don't want to go, but when you go and finish, you feel good, and that feeling motivates you to go again. That's why those 2 minutes matter. You don't need motivation for 2 minutes. You just do it, and then motivation appears." Dylan realized he had spent years waiting for the right day, the right mood, the right motivation, but none of it would arrive because he had to create it through action. Then Dylan asked, "But why can I be disciplined at work, yet not disciplined with my personal goals?" Kenji smiled. "You're disciplined at work because there's an immediate consequence if you aren't. Your boss will complain. You might get fired.
The limbic system senses a threat and forces action. But with a personal project, there's no immediate consequence. If you don't work on it today, nothing bad happens today. The consequence appears 5 years later, when you look back and realize you wasted time. But the limbic system can't see 5 years ahead. It only sees today. So how do I create an incentive today? You don't create punishment, you create reward. And the reward doesn't need to be external. It can be internal. The feeling of progress, the pride of not breaking the chain, the identity of being the person who does what they said they would do. Chapter 8. The 30-Day Challenge. Kenji checked his watch. 2 hours had passed. Dylan-san, I have an offer. A 30-day challenge. What kind of challenge? You will choose one thing, just one, and do it every day for 30 days. No exceptions. It can be ridiculously small, but it must be every day. Dylan thought. Work on the project? That's possible, Kenji said, but be specific. Work on the project is vague. Open the file and write at least one line of code is specific. Dylan wrote it down. Okay, open the project file and write at least one line of code every day for 30 days. Kenji asked, can you do this even on bad days? One line? Yes. Good, because here's the secret. You're not building an app in those 30 days. You're building identity. You're changing from someone who has a project to someone who works on the project every day. When identity changes, behavior follows. Kenji wrote, identity equals behavior equals results. Most people try to change results directly, like, I want to lose 20 kilos. But results don't create habits. Identity does. When you see yourself as someone who trains, training becomes natural. It's no longer something you do, it becomes who you are. And one more thing. During these 30 days, you will stumble. There will be a day you don't do it, and your brain will say, you broke the streak, there's no point, start again on Monday. That's a lie. Stumbling isn't failing. Failing is not getting up after stumbling. If you lose one day, don't lose the next. 2 lost days become a pattern. 1 lost day is just a stumble. And remember Ichigo Ichie. Each day is unique. The day you lost is dead, but today is still alive. Today is the day you act. Chapter 9. The First Day. Dylan returned home that Sunday with a different feeling in his chest. Not motivation, something stronger, clarity. Jessica was in the living room reading. Dylan sat beside her. Jess, I need to apologize. She looked surprised. You were right. I've been living on autopilot. I kept postponing everything, postponing us. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm not going to promise I'll change overnight because I know it won't work that way. But I will promise you one thing. From today on, every day I will work on my project, even if it's just one line of code. And every day I will be there for you, even if it's only 10 minutes without my phone. Jessica stayed silent for a moment, then said with a breaking voice, I don't need grand promises, Dylan. I just need you to be here, really here. I will, Dylan said. They sat quietly, holding hands, and for the first time in months, Dylan felt truly present. Nothing else in his head, no future, no work, just that moment. Ichigo Ichie, this moment, once in a lifetime. That night at 9 p.m., Dylan sat at his computer. He opened the project file that had been closed for weeks. The code was half finished, full of comments like, to finish later. He took a deep breath. Just one line. He wrote one line, simple, small, almost ridiculous. But it was done. Day 1. He messaged Kenji. Day 1, one line written. The reply came instantly.
Excellent, Dylan-san. Don't break the chain. See you on the 30th. The first 3 days were easy. He opened the project every day, wrote a few lines, sometimes even worked for an hour. On day 4, the motivation faded. He came home exhausted and collapsed on the sofa. His brain screamed, "Not today, just today. You can make it up tomorrow." But he remembered, you don't need motivation for 2 minutes. He stood up, went to the computer, opened the file. Just one line. He wrote one line and closed it. He wasn't inspired, he wasn't productive, but he did it. Day 5, day 6, day 7, 1 full week. He messaged Kenji. 7 days, didn't break. Kenji replied, "You're building something bigger than an app, Dylan-san. You're building discipline." Day 12, Dylan came home near midnight after a brutal day. He was already in bed when he remembered, damn, the project. The clock said 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes to midnight. Part of him thought, leave it for tomorrow, you're tired, 1 day won't matter. But another part, new, growing, said, get up, do it now. He got up in his pajamas, opened the file, wrote 3 lines, saved, closed it. 11:55 p.m. He returned to bed smiling, not because he beat tiredness, but because he beat the voice that said tomorrow. Day 18, Saturday. Dylan woke up with no commitments. He could have slept in, done nothing. But by 9 a.m., he was already at the computer, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. The habit was taking root. He worked 2 hours that morning, out of interest, not force. Momentum had begun. Jessica saw him working and smiled. She didn't say anything, she just smiled, because she could see the change happening. Chapter 10, The First Fall, Day 23. Dylan went to a barbecue with friends. He drank more than he should have. He got home at 1 a.m. completely drunk and passed out. He woke up late with a headache and a heavy feeling, not just hangover, but the realization that he had broken the streak. 23 days, ruined. He checked the time, 11 a.m. The day had started and he hadn't touched the project. The voice of resignation said, "You're broken, there's no point, start again on Monday." But he remembered, you don't need motivation for 2 minutes. He stood up, drank water, opened the project, wrote 1 line. It wasn't perfect, but he stood back up. He messaged Kenji, "I broke the streak yesterday, but today I'm back." Kenji replied, "You didn't break, Dylan. You tripped and you got up. That's all. Wabi-sabi. Beauty in imperfection. Continue." Day 30, the final day. Dylan was different. There were no dramatic physical changes. He still weighed 95 kilos. The app wasn't finished, but something had changed. He had become someone who keeps his word. He met Kenji again at the cafe. Kenji was already there, holding his green tea. "Dylan-san, 30 days, you did it." "I did, and you were right. This isn't about the app. It's about who I became by doing it." Kenji smiled. "And who have you become?" "Someone who doesn't procrastinate anymore. Someone who acts even without motivation, especially when it's hard." "Excellent. Now what?" "Now I'm adding another habit. Exercise. 2 minutes a day. Just putting on workout clothes and doing 1 push-up." Kenji nodded. "You've learned." And now, Kenji said, the final principle. The Japanese idea of empty space, pause, interval. Life isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters and leaving space for the rest. He continued, "You're learning action, but don't forget presence. Being present with Jessica, being present with your father, being present with yourself. What good is building an empire if you're not there to live inside it?" Dylan felt those words deeply. Kenji asked, "By the way, when was the last time you visited your father?" Dylan swallowed. "About 3 months? And you think you'll have him forever?" Silence. "Dylan-san, every meeting with your father is Ichigo Ichie. You don't know if you'll have another one.
If you don't, you'll regret postponing it. Action isn't only productivity. Action is presence. Call him today. Dylan left the cafe with a heavy heart. He pulled out his phone, found his father's name, and realized he couldn't even remember their last real conversation. 3 taps. Dial. Hello? His father's voice was the same, tired but warm. Hi, Dad. It's Dylan. Dylan, son, what a surprise. Are you okay? Yes, Dad. I was wondering, would you like to have lunch with me tomorrow at my place? I'll cook. A pause. Then, of course, son. Of course I want to. What time? Midday. I'll be there. Dylan hung up and felt a relief he didn't expect, like he had finally done something he should have done long ago. Sunday noon, the doorbell rang. Dylan opened the door. His father stood there in a dress shirt, hair neatly combed, dressed up as if this lunch truly mattered. Hi, son. Hi, Dad. Come in. They hugged, and Dylan felt something he hadn't felt in years. Longing. He missed his father. They ate, talked about everything and nothing. His father told childhood stories. Dylan talked about the project, about Jessica, about the changes. And for the first time in years, Dylan was completely present. No phone, no rush, just a son and his father. When his father left, he said, Dylan, thank you for today. I missed this. Me too, Dad. We'll do it again, I promise. But this time, it wasn't an empty promise. It was a commitment.
Chapter 11. 3 months later. Dylan sat in front of his computer. It wasn't 9 p.m., it was 7 a.m. He had learned to wake up early. The app was 60% complete. No longer only an idea, but real functional code. He weighed 88 kilos. He had lost 7 because he started training every day. First 1 push-up, then 5, then 10. Now he trained 30 minutes a day naturally. Jessica made coffee in the kitchen. She looked at him and smiled, because the Dylan she fell in love with had returned. Present, attentive, alive. And his father? Dylan had lunch with him every Sunday without fail. He discovered stories, dreams, regrets, things that would have died with his father if Dylan kept postponing them. One day, Dylan got a message from an old friend. Bro, I saw on Instagram you're building an app, training, and you're different. How did you do it? I need to change too, but I don't know where to start. Dylan smiled because he knew exactly what to say. Start small, ridiculously small. Choose one thing, just one, and do it every day, even if it's only 2 minutes. Don't break the chain. And if you stumble, get up the next day. That's it. Because real change doesn't come from one perfect day. It comes from 1,000 imperfect days where you chose to act, even when you didn't feel like it. A Stanford neuroscientist who studies habit formation explains, the human brain is an energy-saving machine. It wants to automate behaviors so it doesn't have to spend energy thinking. When you consistently repeat an action, you create a neural pathway. And the stronger that pathway, the more automatic the behavior. That's why after 60 to 90 days of doing something daily, you no longer need discipline. The brain takes over. An Oxford researcher who studies procrastination found procrastination isn't laziness, it's emotional management. People postpone tasks that create emotional discomfort. The only way to overcome it is to reduce the discomfort so much that the brain doesn't trigger fight or flight. That's why techniques like start for 2 minutes work. They remove emotional resistance. And about Ichigo Ichie, a Japanese tea master, says, in Japan we say you never drink the same tea twice. Even if it's with the same person, in the same place, with the same tea, the moment is different. Time has passed. You have changed. That moment died and another was born. When you understand this, you stop postponing because you realize there is no later.
But there's something else nobody tells you about Ichigo Ichie. It's not only about acting in the present, it's about choosing what deserves your presence, because you can't do everything. And when you try to do everything, you end up doing nothing well. Dylan learned this in the 4th month. He was working on the app, training, studying Japanese, spending time with Jessica, visiting his father, working his job, and he was exhausted. One day, Kenji called. "Dylan-san, how are you?" "Tired, very tired. I'm doing everything you taught me, but it's hard." Kenji said, "You're trying to live every possible life at the same time. That isn't Ichigo Ichie. That's anxiety." Ichigo Ichie doesn't mean doing everything right now. It means being fully present in what you've chosen to do right now and letting the rest go. That freed Dylan. He didn't have to do everything. He had to choose what mattered and be fully present in it. Chapter 12. 1 year later. 1 year after that Sunday coffee, Dylan sat at the same table again. Same cafe, same green tea for Kenji, same coffee for Dylan. But everything had changed. The app was live. It had 500 users. It wasn't viral, but it existed. It worked. It generated income. Dylan weighed 78 kilos. He trained 5 times a week because he enjoyed it. He proposed to Jessica. She said yes. The wedding was scheduled for 6 months later. And his father had started smiling again because he had his son back. "You did it, Dylan-san," Kenji said. Dylan replied, "No, I'm doing it because I learned there is no finish line. There is only the journey, and the journey is built day by day." Kenji smiled. "You learned the most important lesson. Transformation is not an event, it's a process, and the process only works if you are present inside it." Dylan looked out the window. He saw people walking past, rushing, staring at their phones, living in the past or the future, but not in the present. And he thought, that's how I used to be. I lived as if the present didn't matter, as if life would begin after I achieved my goals. But he learned that life isn't goals. Life is the days, the moments, the small choices. The workout you didn't want to do but did anyway. The line of code you wrote even when you were tired. Dinner with Jessica without your phone. Lunch with your father every Sunday. Ichigo Ichie. Each of those moments was unique, and he was present inside them. Now let me ask you, how many moments have you buried in the cemetery of "I'll do it later"? How many workouts did you skip? How many projects did you postpone? How many important conversations did you cut short? How many people did you neglect because you believed there's always tomorrow? And now tell me, how many of those tomorrows actually arrived? The truth is, you're living as if you have 2 lives, the life you're living now and the life you'll begin when the time is right. But the right time never comes because you're waiting for perfect conditions, perfect motivation, the perfect moment. And while you wait, life passes, moments die, opportunities close, people drift away. Ichigo Ichie isn't just a romantic philosophy about appreciating flowers. It's a punch in the face, a brutal reminder that you don't have infinite time. This moment right now is the only real thing you have. Everything before it is memory. Everything after it is imagination. If you keep postponing, you'll wake up 10 years from now in the same place, with the same regrets, with the same list of "one day I'll do it." But here's the good news. You can change today, right now, this very moment. It doesn't need to be big. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be now. Choose one thing, the smallest possible thing, so small you can't invent an excuse. Project? open the file, 2 minutes. Workout, put on the clothes, 2 minutes. Call someone you love, dial the number, 2 minutes. Learn one new word, open the app, 2 minutes. And do it today, tomorrow, and the day after, not by obsessing over 365 days, but by focusing on one day, today, because today is the only day that exists. And when you stumble, because you will, don't quit. Just don't stumble 2 days in a row. 1 stumble is human. 2 stumbles in a row is a choice. Remember, you're not building results. You're building identity. You're stopping being someone who has dreams and becoming someone who fulfills them. And the difference between those 2 people isn't talent or luck, it's daily action. Because in the end, life isn't measured by great achievements. It's measured by small moments, by daily choices, by being present where it matters. Your father won't be here forever. Your child won't be a child forever. Your opportunity won't wait forever, and you won't be young forever. What you have is now, this unique, unrepeatable moment. Ichigo Ichie. Don't waste it. Now I want to know from you. Comment below, what small action will you take today? Don't tell me your complete transformation plan. Don't tell me you'll revolutionize your life. Tell me just the first thing, the first 2 minutes. Open the project file. Put on your workout clothes. Write the first sentence of your book. Dial the number of someone you love. Learn one new word, anything. But it has to be today, and it has to be small. Because when you write it here, you do 2 things. First, you make a public commitment, and public commitment has power. Second, you take the first step, and the first step is always the hardest. And if you watched this far, thank you. That means you're not just someone who consumes content and forgets. You're someone who wants to act. So act now, not tomorrow, now. Because this moment happens only once.